Oh, there. Oh, she had her friend on in the camera here. But nevertheless, we are here. It's another Thursday, and we're back for another episode of Comic Book Spectrum here. And today's thumbnail was just kind of like a reminder about how even popular TV shows, even though with the most promise, even with the whole big fanfare that there was going to be a season 6 and they was not going to end on a cliffhanger, still gets canceled.
Well, how do you explain this? Stuff happens, and as we have said before, this is what happens when creatives are not running the boat. The boat is not being captained by men who know the sea. The boat is being captained by some guy 650 miles away from the shore. He's not even on the boat. He's just sending out little pigeons with his notes. They're not even on the boat.
It was so funny because of the simple fact that for those who don't know the thumbnail, that was from the original Teen Titans show that had Ami Yumi doing the theme song. Before they went into a season 6, they rumored about a Teen Titans Go replacing the show. That they want a younger demographic. They were going to make it more, a lot more cartoony, and and people felt that it was going to ruin the franchise and everything. It really didn't ruin the franchise. They tried to do what Cartoon Network does poorly. If it ain't making toys and ain't making money in that aspect, we got to get rid of it. Very popular show, high ratings and everything, but it wasn't hitting the demographic. It was too many older people watching that show and was caring about it. And that's the thing. You want older people to watch the show with the kids and everything to guarantee something like that. But
yes,
they did Teen Titans Go. People thought Teen Titans Go was going to be a flop. It wasn't. Actually, Teen Titans Go is a pretty decent show when it boils down to it, but it's not everybody's cup of tea. Just like what was it? Thundercats Roar. It's like they redid Thundercats. Thundercats was a very good reboot of the original.
I didn't get to see the reboot.
The reboot was very good. Problem was it did not have a stable time slot. Plus, the simple fact that older people were watching it.
Those of us who saw the original and wanted to see how it measured up against the new thingy. And we're like, oh, okay, I can get into this. I don't need the kids to watch this and explain this to me because I've seen it. Hello, I know what this is.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like, the Essence Fair, but then you kick all of the black folks out and wonder why things fail.
How can I put this? Since you're going to bring that up, I was going to leave the Essence Fair alone, but I'm going to leave it. But I'm not going to leave the other thing alone. You buy out the company, which includes the publishing side of things.
Mm-hmm.
And you're willing to throw several decades of archived photos and history into the trash, which has history behind it. And it had to take a major movie producer to save that archive. Instead of making money off of it, having it set aside for a museum or something to that magnitude.
I was about to say they could have turned it over to
throw it all away.
They could have given it to Tuskegee. There are fashion colleges and stuff that they could have given stuff to. There are places they could have put. I mean, this was important. And it's like, you didn't have to do this. But for some reason, you woke up on the wrong side of whoever.
Mm-hmm.
and decide I got nothing better to do than to slap crap on of African Americans. And then, well, why don't they want to come to my event? It's like you lock the local Narlands people out, and then you brought in it as one. I saw some of the responses. As one girl rightly put it, this is something for the aunties, those over 35 Black women. That was their thing. And then when you get up and you pee on it, it's like, I can screw this up because I can. It's like, okay, then go ahead. But then when you run it, when you're operating at a loss and folks don't want to show up, or the folks that do show up show out, you got nobody to blame but you. You know, you got nobody to blame but you, because you took something that was iconic and decided, I'm gonna screw it up.
Not just screw it up. I don't know.
They screwed it up to a whole.
I feel this way about a lot of stuff in this modern age. You take something that has prestige, that has a, how could I say,
It's got a
history behind it. And then you're going to say, screw history, screw tradition, screw all this other stuff. We're just going to do it this way, and we're going to be successful because that's what people want today. And I was like, you can't really do that with certain things. If you're going to do that, come up with a different festival. Yeah. Call it something different.
But if you take something, you know, it's like you kind of want to grab and go, you should run for president because you have a lot in common with the current administration. You tend to find stuff and then screw it over, and then can't figure out why nobody wants to be bothered with it because you didn't broke it. If it wasn't,
not just broke it. I'm going to put my name on it. I'm going to put my name on it and going to say that it's going to be the greatest thing since Wonder Bread and all this other stuff, and then move forward with it, and then nobody wants to be a part of it.
That's right, because bitch, you tore it apart, you took a shit on it, lit it on fire, and it dared us to say something. And you know what we said? Okay, fine, you do you. We will find something else to do. Enjoy your failure, because that ass whooping, you asked for it.
Yeah. Again, I wouldn't say it was an ass whooping, but it was
no. It was an ass whooping.
It was something that was well deserved. It was something that was well deserved here.
It's an ass whooping, and she asked for it.
But again, I just know how spin doctors are today, especially with the interwebs and how people are on things like YouTube and TikTok. These people are spinning it any way and every way but what is behind the scenes and was traditional about the fair itself.
She
just like nobody went back to really understand why Lucas went back and bought the stuff from Johnson Publications, the archives and everything, and tried his best to keep those archives intact. There's a lot of history that has to be preserved. If they would have thrown away all that stuff from the early Ebony's and Jets and Essence magazines, would have been lost to history. All of those articles and candid pictures that no other publication, not New York Times, nor any other magazine would have.
Exactly.
Would have been lost to history. The new owners just didn't care. That's just like whatchamacallit right now. I believe he just recently passed. The founder of Johnson Products, the Afro Sheen and all the other he passed away a couple of days ago, and I'm glad that the people who taking over for him is still trying to keep up with that tradition, but things are not the same. It's not the way that it was and what he stood for. Matter of fact, I still got to buy his books and everything and read them.
I guess speaking as a Black woman, you know, it was like, ooh, I can't wait till I've got enough money to go. because I've so many years seen the photos and the footage and thought, ooh, I just so want to go. That's the time to go to New Orleans when it's, it's not a bunch of screaming college kids or bridesmaids. You know, it's those it's those black aunties and grandmas and great aunties and stuff, and the women who couponed and everything, so they had the money to go, you know, and hope that the house wouldn't be burned down by
Mhm.
the time they go. You know, it's something that this was ours. This was ours, and it had weight in history. It was elegant and fun, and to just go, well, and my attitude is like, if you don't care for it, why buy it? Was your greed and avarice so intense that you needed that? Because if you were going to this, and it's like, okay, you want to do your own thing, go do your own thing. But like you said, under your own name,
Mhm.
taking something like this and then taking the core group who've been supporting this for decades and then kicking them to the curb and then acting all surprised when shit hit the fan. You know, to me, it's like, okay, that is just beyond idiocy. And like I said, that was an ass whooping you had coming and you so deserved it. Okay. You deserved it, girlfriend, because that was beyond disrespect. Okay. It was, whether you want to hear it or not, it was beyond, yeah, I'm talking to you. It was beyond disrespect.
Well, yeah, take a look at what they did with the magazine on top of that too.
And I
They
haven't,
bastardized it. They bastardized it. I mean, I just going to be blunt. It's like it doesn't shock me. It doesn't shock me.
but
But
it saddens me because Essence was, when I didn't have much money and I couldn't get a lot, I would at least try to get, at least every other month or so, get an issue of Essence.
mhm.
Because I loved it. I loved the fashions and they had such great articles and stuff. I really enjoyed it. And so to know that this all, and it's like, why? Do you and this wasn't a white person who did it. We can't say some white folks came in there and this was an African woman. All the more reason why you deserve that ass whooping, because you didn't have to do this. It's like you looked at us, decided we were beneath you, but you wanted our money.
Mhm.
Okay, we were beneath you, but you except for our money, and that's why you got what you got. I hope you enjoy it.
See,
You know,
the way that you feel about this was kind of like the way that I felt about WakandaCon.
I that was another thing I was hoping would last because wanted to go.
I have talked about this several times over, but now since we brought it up, I'm going to talk a little bit more in depth. And I'm probably going to talk a little bit more off the cup and a little bit more blue.
Okay.
The very first one was what was needed. The very first WakandaCon. There was only two that had ever been done.
Yeah.
I've been to
Because
both. I
the
exhibited at both of
COVID
them.
hit and then there was no way to get another one. And after COVID, my understanding was they just didn't have what they needed to
No,
put it
there was
together
something
again.
else. There was something else that had happened, and you could ask your favorite comic book monger because he was there with me on the
Okay.
second one.
Okay.
The first one was what was needed because it was hot off the heels of the first Black Panther movie. Everything was geared towards what it was for, which was geek culture, the comic books, the manga, the video games, and everything. Everything was set up for that. They had guests that was dealing with like Hollywood, dealing with actual productions, dealing with actual writing and everything. And the first one was at the Palmer House. Even though it was a small venue, it was kind of like wall to wall exhibitors, wall to wall artists, wall to wall, anything comic book related. They had people coming from multiple states
It
to
was a chance
celebrate
for
this
Black
very
geek
first one.
culture to say, hey, this is ours. This is who we are. We ain't crapping on anybody, but this is how this is the diaspora saying we's the geeks and we's proud.
Second thing that made it very beautiful, it was open to everybody. And that's one of the things that people fail to realize. It's like, oh, with Comic Con, and it's like it's a comic book convention celebrating, kind of like the village of like Wakanda and Black Panther and all this other stuff. Oh, it's going to be about black culture, this that. I was like, no, it was Geek Fest. It had a lot of us African Americans who have been working in comics for years and decades, or trying to make a name for themselves. It was a celebration of geek culture. And everybody was open. It was wide open. We had everybody showing up that first year. Then here comes year two. Year number two. Everybody was getting so hyped for it because of the simple fact of what happened that first year. And then on top of that, they went from being at the Palmer House and they finally got McCormick Place.
That's right.
Bigger spot.
Bigger spot, more people.
Everybody was up here, it's like really thinking, it's like if it's anything like the year before, oh, it's about to be on and popping. So we get there, and they up here, kept the things. It's like, they had like, us vendors here. That was the marketplace. They had programming rooms where they had all these different events and everything, until you really looked and delved into what they had done. Year two went from a celebration of geek culture from year one to almost Black Women Expo, because they got somebody from the outside to manage it.
And that's
a
the
person
problem.
who have never done comic book conventions as their point person.
And she didn't take anybody on her staff who knew anything, who could advise her to say, this is what we need. This is what work according to other events. This is what you do. And she just ran with it and screwed it over.
How in the world are you going to have on your programming list about dealing with incarcerated fellas at a comic book convention? That's not something that people who are looking to go and celebrate a comic book convention or comic book or geek related convention does not.
They don't want to talk about that.
You went from making it open to everybody to Black Women Fest, because people like myself who was there to promote comic books and promote what we do are now sitting there around people who are selling jeans and garments and all this other stuff that most African American women would partake in. They're not coming here.
They don't care about the geek stuff. It's kind of like the crowd we get at C2E2 these days. You get a lot of people who don't care about the geek stuff.
And
they want to stare at everybody.
Problem.
They want to stare at everybody and ogle and all of that, and buy themselves some beers, and occasionally they might buy a $300 lightsaber. But they're not there for the culture. They're not there because they care about it. They don't care about the comic books or anything like that. It's a freak show to them.
The second one, some of the best highlights of the second one is like, oh, I got to shake Pretwinkle's hand. She happened to show up and she came by.
Tony Pretwinkle was there?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Ooh, okay, I've met her a few times. I've done back when I was working for Howard Kenner.
Mm.
I had the pleasure of
But
doing a
she
couple
she showed
events.
up. She showed up to the second one and everything, and it was just like it was awful. It was awful. It's like there was no money to be made because the type of people that came to this event
We're not
was
interested in.
not interested in anything geek culture related. The programming spoke volumes here. If anything, the those who were, if I could say, in the under who were into geek culture and under the age of 25, most of them spent time in the video game room and never left. There was
Chris,
no programming out there for them. There is nothing. It's like they would come into the showroom and be like, "Why is there so much clothing and all this other stuff?" It's like, why are people selling hair care products and shea butter and all this other stuff?
oh my
I'm up there
goodness.
like, I saw what was there. I was like, yeah, this is going to be a tough sell. And the majority of us who were comic book creators were towards the back. People had to
Instead
like
of at the
literally
front,
walk all the way in to get to us.
which
So,
meant they weren't going to because they didn't want to have to go. The further in you go to these events, the hotter it gets.
mhm.
Also, if you've got kids or whatnot with you, you've got to go all the way to the back. By the time you get there, whoever you've brought with you, especially if they're not particularly a fan or a child, they're going to start whining. I've seen adults. Why
Mhm.
do we have to go back here? Why is it always way back here? With the stuff up there, it's like that because what I'm looking for isn't up there. It's like, well, fine. They suddenly become toddlers. Grown people become toddlers when they don't want to be somewhere, and
but
you're not going to let them just ogle at the geeks.
that was that the second one was a far cry, and I'm glad that there wasn't another one, because if they were moving in that direction from that point forward, it was going to be a failure. And the fact that it was a family that did this, when they were on their own, they did what was needed to do. And
But
then in their ultimate wisdom, with the money that they had, it's like, we're about to go get a professional, and we're going to make certain that this stays this way. That professional screwed them over.
and probably the conversation was, "Hi, we just did this event. We made X amount of dollars. We did really, really well, and that professional quit listening after X amount of dollars. All they heard was cha-ching, 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 and they weren't paying attention to all the stuff that they should have been paying attention, because they were focused on how much money at the end of the day were they going to get, and all the friends that they could bring on this and get money off of, without what the event was actually about.
Mhm.
And it would have been better off if they'd have gone to Reed Pop or some event organization like that and said, "Hey, our first was really good, but it was so good though it's gotten a little beyond us. Would you at least consult
Mhm.
to give us an idea of how to grow this and whatnot, as opposed to grabbing somebody?" Because let me tell you, just because you're black and they're black doesn't necessarily mean they're the best choice
Well,
for you.
well,
I
it
hate to
wasn't
say
that.
that, but it's not always a matter of their or somebody. Well, they're known for doing this event. Find out what events they're known for. If they are not known for events exactly like what you're trying to put on, they're not good for you. They're not going to be good for what you're trying to do.
And I think that was what really cost them the bigger, if I could say, their goal got shortened because they went and got a professional who have never dealt with this genre,
Yeah.
and they had no clue what to expect here. The When your vendors for a geek culture slash comic show, when your vendors are more into other things than comics, something's wrong. You only had one comic book retailer in that show. And you know
And
who that one comic book retailer was?
let me
James.
guess, first aid.
Yeah.
Of course. Of course.
And
Oh.
I'm just up here. It's like, you know what? You had graham crackers down the street. You had challengers. You had all these different vendors.
Wendy's, I mean, I could have given them at least 10 different shops. They could have gone to at least 4 or 5 different gaming shops in the city that they could have gone to.
One was there. One gaming outfit was there, and they did custom games.
Okay.
They did not see any business because the price tag on that, the average person that came, and like I said, the average person that came, I had to hate to say the demographic, it was older black women
Mm-hmm. Who
are not
might
paying
have,
attention to that. They're not paying attention to that.
because they're looking at the aesthetic, but they're not looking at the architecture that it's built up on. They're looking at the aesthetic and not what that aesthetic comes from. And when you've got somebody who, yeah, they've done events, yay, but have they done events of this type? And you need to, Auntie Moo was going to school you in a few things, okay? As somebody who has run special events, hire somebody who actually knows the type of event you're trying to run. I don't care how many events they've got behind them. Ask them, how many events of this type have you done? It's, let's put it this way. You don't hire somebody to do your wedding if all the really big events they've done are birthday parties for 5-year-olds. Okay? Yeah, two different things. And that's what we were looking at here. This is the problem with Essence. You had people who you're asking somebody who's doing parties for 5-year-olds to do a stately wedding. And what you get is crap, because that's not their area of expertise. And when you've got people who this is not their area of expertise, and there is nobody on their staff that they're consulting with, and they're too stupid to think maybe I should talk to somebody and get an idea of what I'm doing. Okay, she just, when people just look, oh, they were successful, ching, 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 ching. Mm-hmm. These are the mistakes that get made. And then things that should have been, Wakanda Con should be an annual thing, and it's not, because it's like they took the baby was born, the baby was healthy, and then they gave it to somebody who just strangled it.
It's like gave it to somebody. It's like, here, let me give it a virus shot.
They might as well just throw. That's what they call throwing the baby out with the bath water. Okay, this is what we mean by the old saying of throwing the baby out with the bath water, because you don't know what the hell you're doing. Okay, and if you sitting there, well, I don't care. Geekdom is not. Okay, Geekdom is not like running a 5-year-old's birthday party.
Or
it's not like a
Black Women Expo, because the programming of it was
the programming.
Once I found out what was in those programming rooms, I was highly offended.
I can just imagine, because I'm hearing about it. Like I said, I didn't get to go. I wanted to go, but I didn't have the money, and I was sitting there trying to figure out. I got to figure out a way where I can make me some money, so that I can.
If we would have had the deal that we have now, dealing with like C2E2, you probably would have been there, and I would have to stop you with stabby. You would have been that upset.
Oh,
you would have been that upset, because it's like you would have been talking. You would have been talking.
I would have whooped it, and not so much as shed a tear. And I'm talking, by the time I got my hands on her, she'd already been crying, because I'd have cussed her up one side of her head and down the other in front of everybody and their mama, to explain just what a fucking idiot she was.
Because I'm up here, it's like everything that they had was not conducive to anything that was geek culture related or would have brought people in. You didn't have any of the big major players that it was either voice actors or celebrities in major movies, whether it be any race. There's nothing there that was grounding that. You did bring some people who have Hollywood experience as far as writing and all this other stuff, and I was like, you actually got people who are in the industry selling their wares at the in your marketplace. Why didn't you have a panel with them to be like, hi, I'm such and such, this is what I do, this is how I actually got down and made X, Y, and Z and this, that, and the other, blah 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 blah. Other comic book conventions, especially if it's based upon ethnicity, has always done that. Where Con was a celebration of geek culture, and they decided to go the opposite direction that year
And all
with
she
the
had to do was
programming.
contact. All she had to do was contact the list of the people from the other who had been there the year before. Hey, what guests did you really enjoy? People would have given you given that person a list. First, the top of the list, Lance Riddick. Folks would have given up kidneys to have the late great Lance Riddick at that event. Do you know what that would be like having to have had Lance Riddick at the second Wakanda Con? Hell, they could have ridden on that for at least a good 10 years.
No,
You
here's the
know?
other thing. The first one, you had people traveling across the country, both attendees and vendors.
That's what
The
I'm saying.
vendors that you had is the second one was pretty much local. And when I say local, I'm talking about within, the upper Midwest. So you had maybe a few people from Indiana, a few people from Michigan, and the rest was here in Illinois.
But the thing is my first, if I was had been running it, the first thing I would have said was, give me a list of all the vendors that you had from last time. And I would have asked questions. Did you get, what did you like about doing the show? Were there things about doing the show that you didn't like? Are Give me a list of guests that you think would make this show better than any other show. If I didn't research, if I wasn't part of that culture, the first thing you want to do, it's like the officers. We were both in the military. The officers I respected were the dudes who showed up saying, I really don't know anything about motor transport. Please let me know what I need to know. Those are the officers who, when I was in the Marines, those were the guys that we respected. The ones who came in and understood they didn't know jack shit and would ask you questions from the position of, I really have no idea what this is about. Can you tell me? And you would go, yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. And give them that information.
Mhm.
Or I only have this information because I'm this rank. This is what I do. But if you go over there and ask Gunny, and you could tell who the ones that didn't come in there like that, because they would come out and tap you on the shoulder. Yo, PFC, Gunny said you got the rubber wrench.
And
And the
then
minute
you'll get your little bitty giggle, you'll have your little bitty spark or giggle, and then you'll be like, okay, this is what you need to know, and bye.
no, I would be like, oh, you know what? Lance Corporal so and so was the last person who had the rubber wrench. They're over there. Why don't you go ask? You pass his ass down until eventually he realizes there's no such thing as a rubber
A rubber
wrench.
wrench, yeah.
Yeah, just for those who don't know, for those of us who worked in motor transport and certain engineering units, at least in the Marines, if somebody sent you out to get a rubber wrench, and they usually did this to what we call boot Louis, that meant you got your lieutenant's pip, but you were just out of boot camp. You didn't. You got a bachelor's You got a bachelor's in
You
literature.
finally got your gold bar. It means nothing. It just means that
It,
you just think you could run shopping, and it really doesn't mean
you didn't
anything.
even go to West Point, okay? You went to UCLA, got your bachelor's in comparative literature studies, and you had to serve because the government paid, the government paid for you to get your degree, and now you went to OCT, Officers Training Corps, and now you've come out with a little butter bar.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't know anything about the actual job, because unlike those of us who are boots on the ground, who didn't, I had never driven, never taken a motor apart. But guess what? When I got sent to North Carolina, I learned how to take.
You went to school and did exactly that.
And
That was
these
one.
guys just come out and they think they know everything. And the smart ones realize they don't know shit. The dumb ones act like they know everything.
That
And
was.
they get rubber wrenched.
I, I'm going to tell you this, and this is the funny thing. This is the funny thing about, even if you did get into the academy like I did, you could tell those who have never served in the military, and you get into the academy and they're up here telling like, well, this is what it's going to be like when you get there. It's like, dude, I had actually served a couple of years already. I know what it's like. You're absolutely wrong, but I get why you're trying to tell these other knuckleheads who don't have a clue what it's really like.
I usually just go, sweetie, I was in ROTC. Back up, take a breath.
No, it's like before I actually got to the academy, it's like they sent us to the prep school, but while we were at the prep school, we were active duty. So we did active duty type stuff and still studying everything to prepare to get into the academy. So they were up there like, so this, that, or the other. It's like, yeah, there's a lot of us that either came out of ROTC from high school that couldn't get directly in, or actual, military that, was able to get their senators and Congress, the senators or representatives recommendation to get in.
Yeah.
So there are people who are like us that actually have active duty certs behind us, and you want to tell us like, oh, this is what it's really like when you get there. we just like smile within ourselves. It's like, yes sir, no sir, yes ma'am, no ma'am, and we up here is like, you have no clue. You have no clue.
Or one female staff sergeant taught me, smile and nod. Hey, good, just smile and nod.
Mm-hmm.
You just smile and nod. Let them run off at the mouth. Smile and nod. Is that all? Is the lieutenant done? Thank you. May I go back to work? Thank you. And go back to work. When they walk into a wall, that is not your problem. When they walk up into a wall, that you got nothing to do with that. You just do what you're supposed to do.
That was one of the reasons why I was so happy within the prep school that I got teamed up with a great captain who was kind of like my liaison to what it would have been like. I ended up meeting a lot of top brass. So the one incident that happened to me where the person who I was with failed to salute a 2-star, I was able to get him out of it. Because I've been in those situations where even when you're off duty, there's still certain protocols that you have to.
Yeah, our chief of naval operations, who was the head of the Navy, what the CNO is. Now, we do have, the Marines are, in some ways, we're an independent unit, in other ways, we are not. We are Department of the Navy. So while we do have our own generals in the Marine Corps, we do answer to the Navy, which is why
the admirals in the Navy, yeah.
Yeah, we use their JAG services. Yeah, we have JAG offs that serve the Marines. What can I tell you? And their medical service. We get legal and medical service through them.
Mm-hmm.
And so as a result, you have to learn, just like you learn all the insignia for the ranks within the Marine Corps, you also have to learn it for naval. And at the time I went in, the CNO was an Admiral Hayward. And people would come up and they'd ask you, what's your name? Hey, good sir, ma'am. Are you related to Admiral Hayward? No, ma'am or sir. Admiral Hayward is a 6 foot tall white man, and as you can see, I am not. His family may have owned members of my family way back in the day, but I have no knowledge of that. But I used to that started to become my answer because while I was stateside, I
Mhm.
got that a lot. Even when I got my first duty station, I would get, "Are you any relation to Admiral Hayward?" It's like, no, and you can't go no. Yeah, it's like,
You have to be nice and cordial and respond within the proper protocols.
and it's like, okay, how's the way? And you can't say you're an idiot. Even though they are being an idiot. 'Cause, so it's like, yeah, the admiral is a 6 foot tall white man. As you can see, I don't fit
Mhm.
any of those, and usually that was enough for the smart ones would go, oh, okay, got it, go on their way. Every once in a while, you get a boot Louie who, for some reason, didn't know how to leave well enough alone.
Well, again, they're up here trying to look for brownie points. It's like, oh, if I treat you nice, then maybe I could, move up the chain faster. Blah 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 blah. But I learned quick. I learned that's why I love the every last sergeant that I was up under during that press school year. I that's like hats off to them because they kept us grounded. They really kept us grounded, even though we were around a lot more officers, the NCOs. They're up
I
there. It's
had
like,
working
if you
as a
listen
company
to us,
clerk.
if you listen to us, we would teach you to have certain officers asses when they try to tell you wrong.
I was happy when I first got my first duty station at Lejeune, and the my first assignment was because motor transport is split into primarily two. There's the commercial side, which are all solid olive green vehicles, and a lot of them are just civilian vehicles that have been painted olive green, and we have slapped our insignia and stuff on them. And then there is the tactical unit. Those are the combat vehicles, and I've done both. I loved being in the starting with the commercial unit because the only time I ever drove a car was the one time my dad let me back up the car.
Mhm.
And after that, he never let me get behind the wheel again. So, and I didn't take driver's ed in high school. And I hated driving because the first 2 weeks of my training as a driver was just watching all that footage and all those photographs of what happens when after an accident, and you're just looking at,
Oh, so
it's like a,
you missed the fun part of driver's ed.
yeah, I just got to deal with the
The
horror show.
stupid videos where they have a mock setup for you.
No, we
It's one of the weirdest simulators ever.
Oh
It's a
no,
mock setup of like a 19, I want to say it was like 1970s car, automatic and everything. And they will play all these different videos for you to kind of drive along with and this, that, and the other to test your reflexes and all this other stuff.
no, 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 no,
And
no, no,
these
no.
films were like really like out there, out there. It's like, okay, we're about to start off, we're about to pull out, break. Like it's like if you didn't see the stuff the way that it showed on there, it affected your grade. And we have people feeling left and right
No. Our
because of those
first 2 weeks
videos.
were traffic accidents.
Mm-hmm.
So we would see all we saw the first 2 weeks of Mojet school was traffic accidents, the end of a traffic accident when they're just pulling body parts out of cars and things
Oh,
like
so you
that.
didn't see how they actually happen. See, the simulators and stuff showed you how they happen. They put you in that
No,
scenario. It's like, what are you supposed to do? That's like,
no, no, no.
oh, the person
All
said,
they
"Come
did,
on," they're waving you on and saying that the traffic's clear. It's like, okay, fine, I'm gonna pull out, bam. Like what?
no, 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 no. They just showed us this. Here's the vehicles that we drive, and here are all the different ways that you can either be killed in that vehicle or you can kill somebody else. By the time it was my turn to get behind the wheel, I was scared shitless. I was scared to death. I went 20 feet and locked up and just sat there screaming. And they were like, okay, you know what? Get out the car, give me the keys. I will get in the back. I will drive you back. And I got a sergeant who was very smart. He would take us out in a group, and there were these Camp Lejeune has these lovely roads that go up in the mountains and twiddly through the forest and whatnot, and they would just take us up and around. So when I finally got used to driving, there was some traffic. Occasionally, you might see a deer or a bear. I ran over a turtle once, but I totally convinced my instructor that it was a communist turtle. He was reading the Pravda, and he had that death coming.
Mm-hmm.
And he thought that was so funny. They didn't fail me for it.
Mm-hmm.
But when I got the orders to go off campus to go off base, to go to like Cherry Point or somewhere, I would just freak because suddenly I'm in traffic and there are civilians and I can kill these people with a truck. And I'm like, oh my God, I was screeching at every stop sign. I was driving to fast. I was just, and they were like, okay, I guess the cops are like, keep this one on the base, please.
No, that's the thing. Most cops cannot read military license plates.
Oh, this was North Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
These boys were good, and eventually it was like, would you like to just take things, because the first class, I was happy because we didn't drive right away. We got there before the class. We got there like a month before they were ready to start us.
Mm-hmm.
So I spent my first month just doing things I'd never done. I helped put a step van together. It's kind of like those the vans the UPS drivers drive
right
now.
Mm-hmm.
We got a van that MPs had gotten picked up a bunch of Marines who got into a fight with a bunch of sailors, and they put them in the van and they were still fighting. So after they dropped everybody out the hospital, they had to tow the van, and the van was tore up, and we got to rebuild it. And I loved it because I had never riveted floor plates together or put a steering wheel in. I got to do so many things I had never done, and I found I liked that. I actually went to my CEO and said, "Sir, can I go to tank school?" He looked at me going, because I'm like
You're the perfect height to be a tank driver compared to some of the other ones. Like my best friend for high school, when he was in the Army, he's 6'5".
Oh.
And he went into infantry armor division.
Ooh. For those of you who don't know, when you see the inside of a tank in a movie or TV show, it's been put together to fit whatever actors. In actual tanks are very tight quarters. So if you're 6 feet tall,
you're hitting your head on everything.
You can't get in or out without a concussion, because just trying to crawl in that puppy, you get down and they're like, okay, you're going to be bang, they want us short. The only thing was tanks, armor division, tactical units. And at the time in which I came in, they weren't putting women into tactical units.
Mm-hmm.
And so all the women started as commercial drivers. And I wanted to get in it. And he was like, why do you want to work? Why do you want to get in the tanks? And it's like, because I can take a break. He just looked at me like, okay. There's a doctor I want you to see, because they thought I was like off. It's like, are you on medication? Because I was excited about the idea of being able to take a tank apart and then put it back together. I was learning, we had tow up stuff because we had time. So they were like, we need an extra set of hands to put this back together. It's like,
you're like, hi, here I am. Hi.
Experience that I'm eager to learn. I'm sure
I,
they
I,
thought I was
I
the
think in my
craziest
time
thing
with the
as a
Air Force,
girl.
I think I made a lot of enemies because of one thing. And when all my instructors and everything, especially for like duty station type stuff, all of them saw I had an aptitude for computer science.
Oh, okay.
I was so dead set to be an aerospace engineer. 'Cause if I would say okay, fine, I'll be a computer scientist, I believe the all those doors would have opened up for me, flew open, because they saw what I could do.
Oh, okay. See, by the time I got sent to a tactical unit, I got sent to truck company.
Hmm.
And I had fun. I will admit I did have fun because I was lucky enough when I got put into the motor pool. And the truck company motor pool was different than the commercial motor pool. Um, but I knew enough about motor pool protocol back then. But it was the staffs, all the staff NCOs loved me because I was short. And it was like, you see that tractor trailer over there? It's like, sir, it it have you have to replace those tires. Can you get all those tires replaced before the end of the day? It's like, okay, because they thought it was funny watching this little PFC, have to, and I didn't know how to do tires, and luckily somebody, some other a lance corporal or somebody who knew me would come over and go, hey, let me show you how to do this, so that you can do this and do your job properly. And I was lucky because I had guys who were very sweet and very protective
Hmm.
and would say, yeah, this is, and I actually, but when we got around to starting to, when they told me, yeah, you're going to start driver training soon, so you can get your tactical license, because I had a commercial license, but I didn't have a tactical license.
Hmm.
And he said, you need to get your tactical license, and you need to, and it's like, do I have to? It's like, excuse me. It's like, I like taking I like taking, you
I
know,
like taking the stuff apart and putting it back together. Why do I
take it
have to
apart
drive
and put it back. I
nowhere?
don't want to drive it, knock it off a cliff just so I could get all the individual parts and build it again. That would be fun. But just
Knock it
want
off a cliff.
to push it over a cliff and then go down and go like,
You will be that what that one PFC be like, is it a neutral? Yeah. Push. Yeah, I can put it together again.
I really, that for me, that was fun. It's like, ooh, you mean, and you do this and you put that together and that goes, wow. So I didn't, I just didn't feel the desire until, of course, and I had a smart instructor, because he's like, oh, that road that goes up there where the guys who only go in the field go up, and it's like, yeah, that's where we're going. It's like, that's 20 miles out. It's like, yep. He's like, they're going to drive us out there, and hey, good, you're going to drive us home. It's like, we're coming downhill. It's like, yeah. It's like, if we're coming down here, we're going to be doing about 70 miles an hour, sir. And for those of you who don't know, tactical vehicles, especially deuce and a half, 5 tons and above, aren't supposed to go above 45 miles an hour, because the type of grease that they use in the axles liquefy after that. It got to the point I was the only member of my team who got to go downhill, because we come down at 80. We'd be zooming. That was so much fun. And and then I got sent to Okinawa, and they would read my records and go, oh, you're not driving. It's like,
But you was the one that knows, like, oh yeah, you come down this area at 55 miles per hour. They got the wire through there. Yeah, that's you getting decapitated.
it's like, but it would be like, hey, good, sir, we got 10 minutes to get back to class, and we're about 25 miles out. Okay. And I
And
understand.
the thing about it, you're not revving the engine. You're not really trying to speed. We're just going downhill.
We're
We're
just
just going
coming.
downhill.
And the thing is usually the way our class was, it was me. I don't know why they stuck me with all the guys. It would be me and 6 other guys. And the back of a deuce and a half or 5 tons don't have seat belts.
Nope.
They just
You're
have these
hitting everything.
metal benches on either side that you sit on. There are no seat belts. There is
You just bounce,
nothing.
bounce,
There's
bounce,
nothing to
bounce,
hold
bounce.
on to. So if we hit anything, they're like a couple of guys ago. I was airborne. Like, but wasn't it fun? It's like from your position. To this day, I hate to drive anything that doesn't come with a machine gun mount. I am I really don't like driving. A machine gun mount means something goes down, I'm gonna get you out alive. So I know how to turn this puppy on. I don't care about what's out there, and I can put a machine gun on. Between that, keep your head down. Don't talk to me. I'm gonna put on some music. Boom. And when we come out alive, you can thank me then. Give me a candy bar. You know. But all this, I can't take vehicles nowadays. They just make me crazy. I want if I have to drive, I want open road. I don't want a speed limit. I just want to go zoom. This is why they don't allow me to drive these days, because I'm a hazard.
Yeah, I know what type of train to put you in, but you'll probably be too scared to do it.
What? I had my
We
license.
we need to take you to someplace like Indianapolis and let you do
the
IndyCar
Speedway.
and let you do IndyCar training. Let you be
No.
at 250 miles per hour on an oval.
They're too small. Those cars are too small. You can't put. There's no machine gun mount.
Don't matter. You hit a
too,
bump. You hit a bump road. You're airborne.
but there's no machine gun mount, and they're too small. I want something big. I want a tank. Why? Because I'm gonna run the hell over you. You can't shoot me out my tank. I'm gonna just you get in my way, crunch. I'm gonna just keep going. I'm gonna just keep going. You. I'm like that joke.
Like, I don't want to keep going.
I'm like the joke. Tankity tank tank. You. I'm like, whoop.
You would hate being a Humvee driver then, because if you're not the gunner with the tow missile, you just be like, nope, ain't gonna have it.
That's the only car I want to drive is a Hummer. If I had to get a car, it would have to be a Hummer, and it would have to be post-military service, which means it's still got its gun mounts. So when something happens, like me a weapon on that baby, you better be on the right side of this argument, because otherwise.
Now you remind me I have to re-up my FOI. You just remind me I have to re-up my FOI.
Oh, before I forget, because we didn't went all off topic. Before I forget, parents, you need school supplies? Family Dollar, Dollar Tree, Five Below. You got a middle schooler, high schooler. You got someone going maybe they're going to city college. They're not going off to a dorm, but you want to give them a dorm-like experience. Five Below. They got the hookup. Are you homeschooling? Dollar Tree, Five Below. Everything you need. Is your kid going to school? They got the cutest little backpack. And Cliff, I know you're going to see this eventually. They got K-pop Demon Hunter backpacks. I got to get some for the girls.
Oh, no, you done messed up now. You know you done messed up. He's gonna be angry at you next week.
They also have Saja Boy stuff. They have Saja Boy stuff. Okay, they have Saja Boy stuff, but they had the cutest. What did Courtney did? They had the cutest little K-pop Demon Hunter stuff. Those bags. You're looking at me like, why are you bringing me into your insanity? That's just not fun. She
no.
She
You
does not take my part. She just leaves me hanging. I'm gonna remember this. Next Tuesday, I am supposed to bake brownies for my oldest for his birthday and banana bread. So maybe I won't bake banana bread anyway.
Ooh, punishment.
Do you want
Punishment.
banana? I can't bake brownies for anybody but him. It's his birthday, so he gets the whole thing of brownies. And he likes, I make Kahlua brownies. So they got a little Kahlua, a little sour cream, a little orange juice concentrate,
Speaking for
three
sneaking.
types of chips.
So
When I
he gets
bake
his
them brownies,
version of being for sneaking. Those brownies.
they don't share them brownies with nobody. It's like, these are my brownies. And he likes his brownies gooey. You know, if
And
he had his way, I would just mix it all together, throw it in the oven for like 5 minutes so it'd be hot, and he would just eat it like that. It's like, no, I'm these. It has to bake, but it can't be too cakey because he doesn't like cakey brownies. He likes them gooey and moist and stuff. And I have learned over the years how to make his brownies. But anyway, if
anyway,
it's
you was talking about school supplies.
it is
I,
time to,
but
if
no,
you
let's
want to
just
get the
school
good
supplies real
stuff
quick.
now, go now while everybody's got the stuff. Yes, Target has stuff, but guess who's got the better prices?
Oh,
Okay.
I'm about to tell you some stuff here because I got my Staples apps here because of the simple fact that a lot of the times when people up here talking about, oh, we could get school supplies at Dollar Tree and everything, it's like, oh yeah, by the way, they got what? This is a 24 pack of Crayola crayons, 50 cents. You
Okay.
can't beat that with a stick at Staples. I was buying packs of mechanical pencils, number two mechanical pencils like this. I was
Oh,
getting
okay.
them at like 5 cents a pack, five
Oh,
cents for
wow. They got,
12.
okay.
But you
You
have
got
to
to
you
get,
have to get them when they have the back to school sales because they will go real quick and they only for last for like a week.
and
And
right
they do
now,
limit your quantity.
how many you can get. Right now is the time to get out there, hit those stores. Like I said, Family Dollar, Dollar Tree, especially Five Below, Office Depot, or Staples. Hit all that stuff up now while the supplies are lasting, because once those sales are gone, they are gone. And Five Below, if you're trying to, if you
So,
want to, if even if it's just you have a 7-year old and you want to make a space for them, that is their study space.
mhm.
You want to get all the stuff to make it nice and everything. And so when they know they sit down, it's my study space, but it doesn't feel like they're in the prison. Five Below, baby. Go to Five Below. You will be surprised at the stuff you find. And it is not expensive. It is not going to kill you. And it will, when you make a child's study space more creative, the child then wants to be there. Okay, because that's the thing. You want some place where the kid is going to want to sit down and get that work done and get it done well. Okay, so yeah, give them some leeway. If they want to have K-pop Demon Hunter notebook or black backpack or whatnot, and Five Below has them for your little ones. I didn't see any for the bigger kids, but if you've got the little ones, oh my goodness, my hold on. Sorry about that. My fan just started weirding out. But anyway, it's the place to go. Um, and it'll make you both happier. Why? Because it'll be a space that your kid wants to be in. And it'll make it easier for them to focus, get their work done without feeling like it's such a chore, which will ultimately make your day easier. And if you've got high schoolers and you want to help them do better in certain subjects, find go find a college like here in Chicago, University of Chicago. Loyola has a bookstore. One of the best bookstores near the University of Chicago is on 57th Street on the other side of the overpass, the train. It's Powell's. Powell's Books. They get a lot of the old books from the university. A lot of students will sell their books to them instead of selling them back to the university for pennies on what they paid for it. They get a better price at Powell's and whatnot. And sometimes the university will give them older books. Um, but find a university nearby. Find a bookstore. Now, the university bookstores you can't buy from. If you go to places like Powell's, which is some place where university students go, but it's not a University of Chicago bookstore and whatnot. You'll find some great old study manuals. And if you want to give your high schooler, middle schooler that, edge and doing better in the subject, that's a place to go. And you can do it for not a lot of money because them college textbooks are not cheap. So any place you can save a few bucks and yet help your kitty get better in their studies, always a good thing. Believe your auntie Moo. Believe me, I'm not trying to. I've raised two boys. There's a reason they can outmath me. So take it from your auntie Moo. But yeah, so right now, go. The funny thing though, when I was a kid, yeah, back in the days we used to have to run from the dinosaurs to get to school.
You have to
You,
run from dinosaurs.
yes, I had to run for dinosaurs
You
to
know
get
why I
to
said it that
school.
way. You know why I said it that way because you're up here like, oh, I got to run for dinosaurs. It's like, no, you did it. You had to run for dinosaurs, really.
Yes, you had to
You're
run,
not that
and them
old.
T Rexes was fast, and they would ambush you if you weren't cut careful. If you weren't careful, but anyway,
So those raptors were still sticking you up for milk money then.
mhm, they could talk. Yo, kid, you want to survive this encounter? Got the milk money? Gimme, gimme, gimme. It's like, well, I ain't got no milk money, but this kid is disposable. Whew. Anyway,
It's like, yeah, you can't get me behind this door. Raptor be like, here I go.
I got them claws. I can open that door. When I was a kid, way back when, um, the school sales didn't happen until mid-August or the beginning of August. Now,
Usually within that first 2 weeks of school, you were already in school when those things would happen. Because
when
that's what I
it's
remember when I was in elementary school.
but I just remember stores you couldn't, you would get, my mother would usually before school started, like right before Labor Day, was when we would run and get stuff like all the pencils and ink pens and crayons and stuff like that. Especially once I was making my own money and then had to buy my own school supplies. It would be like, okay, how much paper do I need? How many pencils? You would go. I found that I love the art supply stores because you could get sketching pencils for relatively cheap, especially places like Dick's. I mean, Dick Blick's,
Utrecht, when they were still
Utrecht.
around.
You could get a lot of good things. And if you had an ID for high school, they would give you a discount. Blick still will. If you are a high schooler up to college, they will, if you bring in your ID when you come to shop, bring your ID in so that they can see that you're actually a student going to whatever school and whatnot. They will usually give you a discount. So that's always a good thing. And I loved it because I not only, my last couple of years of high school, I switched from art to music, and they would you would we would they our teacher knew certain people. There used to be a music supply store on what there's one in the arts building on Michigan, the fine arts building, and then there also used to be a place on Wabash. And you went to the place on Wabash when you didn't have enough money to go get stuff in the fine arts building.
Okay.
And as a saxophonist, I was always having to go through reeds and stuff like that. So, you would go in and get your reeds and your sheet music and whatnot. And you could get it for it once if you showed that you were a student, they would give you a discount. So, if I were you, find a place that sells that stuff and you take your ID. Hi, do you get, and the worst they can do is say no. Hi, I'm in high school. As you can see on my, they used to put your schedule used to be on your high school ID. I don't think they're on there anymore.
No, they don't do that anymore.
They used to have the old IDs that had your
I
picture.
didn't even do that when I was in high school. They only had like whatever was your lunch period on your ID.
They would have, I guess, because when you're a junior or senior, you have, and it used to be, nowadays it's not, but it used to be you took your heavy classes during your freshman and sophomore year. So by the time you were in your senior year, you didn't have more than 3 or 4 classes to go to. And so you would, and that was because a lot of seniors worked.
Right. That was one of the things that you made me think about. It's like my senior year, I had work study, so I was out of school sometime about 2 o'clock, 2 o'clock to get to whatever job that I had.
Some of us had work study. I also knew kids who I had we were what is it, sophomore year, I had a friend that worked for what was it? She worked for Kentucky Fried Chicken. She did the evening shift, so many evenings a week for Kentucky Fried Chicken, and then we would, take, those of us who knew her, if we had classes together, we would take notes and stuff. We wouldn't do her homework for her, but we could sometimes take notes and say, "Here are my notes on, here are my notes on that paper or whatever," so that it
Now
would
give me a
be
two-piece meal.
no,
If I don't, give me a two-piece meal.
no, because they would have to pay for it. And so,
So in other words, you just being nice for being nice then.
yes, you want to see people. A rising tide lifts all boats.
I, I'm just messing with it. I just know how it's like how some people would be then, it's like
There is, yeah, but it's like, no, because like I said, I used to, my freshman year of high school, I worked as a day laborer. So I would get up in the morning, go to school, get out of school, get what homework I needed to get done on my train ride across town to get to to get to Manpower by 4:30, so I could make it on the bus. I could get picked so I could go work until 11 o'clock at night, and then not get brought back, because we used to, the group I worked with, we used to go work. We used to do the cleanup job at Jovan Perfume Factory. So we would like bottle and box and stuff like that. Um, and we would get off at 11. They would then drive us back into the city, drop us off. There was a bar that used to let us. You would get your check that day because you were a day laborer,
mhm.
and there was a bar that used to let us cash our checks. And because I had my own Social Security card, I had my Social Security card and high school ID, and I would walk into the bar, cash my check, and then leave. you know. And I asked the guy who used to take us. I said, aren't they going to get in trouble? He goes, you have a Social Security number, right? And it's like, yeah. They just, you have a legal Social Security number. You're not buying any booze, and they don't need to know how old you are. Just go in there, sign your check, get your money, go.
Pretty much but that's the legal thing here because they don't have to accept your check as legal tender. That was back in the day.
That was
Back in
back
the
in the
day, it's
day.
like, yeah, you sign your check over to them as a signatory. They go to the bank. It's like they see that you signed it over to them. You put your Social Security number on it. They run the Social Security number. Boom, they get
It's
their money.
legal. It's legal. No, they don't need to know how old I am. Bingo, bango, bongo. I was working,
Mm-hmm.
so I could pay for my lunch, clothes, class fees, and whatnot. I had to work to pay for that. So starting as a freshman, I had a job because and the reason I worked as a day laborer, because I couldn't get a seated job. I think to get a seated job, you had to be 15. And when I started, I was 14, so I was a year too young. So you had to be at least 15 to get a seated job.
I could
So
I could honestly say I never had to work fast food in my teens. I never worked fast food as a teen here.
I spent a
I worked at Loyola University for like 2 summers, and then my senior year, I helped perfected a database for one of my teachers' cousins, or what, some it was one of their relatives. You might know of the organization because I believe the son runs it now, the Children's Development Network that's here in the city.
oh, okay, I've heard of them. Yeah.
Yes, I worked for the original owners
Ah,
for them in my senior year, and we did a lot of building. So I dealt with a lot of the database that they wanted to put together for their billing.
I worked, like I said, I worked as a day laborer. Then I got a job. So one of the older workers got ticked at having I stupidly let somebody know that I was a high school freshman, and they had to somebody got ticked and then went and told the foreman, and because it was formal and whatnot, it was like, well, we can't have you working. So I then took on smaller jobs, and then that summer my dad made me work for him. And so I learned to do things like paint floors and painting porches and stuff like that. And then that fall, because I was now in my sophomore year and I had turned 15, I was able to get my first seated job, and I got hired by the vice principal for girls. Because back then you had the principal, who was the overall principal. Then you had two vice principals. You had the vice principal for boys and vice principal for girls. And I got to work for the vice principal for girls, and I started learning admin. Um, and then I switched over. What When I transferred to Austin, I got another seated job that summer working for the Urban League. And then when I went to Amundsen, I didn't get an after school job. They didn't. Most of the kids I knew had jobs they'd gotten through other things. And my last 2 years, we got seated jobs because Dr. Stoller, somebody explained to Dr. Stoller that if he could explain how us being in the band
Mm-hmm.
was a work learn experience. So I made enough money to pay for my lessons as well as some other things. And we had to do a couple of concerts. We were required to do a few concerts in places to say, they said,
But
well,
that was still credit towards your high
it
school.
was work, it was work school experience. And I was like, hello, I'm getting paid. I'm a professional, I'm a paid musician.
Yeah, you're a paid musician. Yep. Now, before we get off the topic here, I just want people to know, yeah, we still talk about comics here. I'm
Yes, we
reading this
do.
new
Sorry.
series by Valiant. I'm reading this new series by Valiant here. I don't have the first 2 issues. It's called Livewire. And for some reason, modern Valiant books, they're interesting.
Why?
Because I haven't read the first 2 issues, issue number 3 to me is like, why would they waste a whole issue on one confrontation? But the confrontation that happens here had a lot of backstory to it. So
Ooh.
it kind of, I don't know how to feel about it, because I was like, is it really a filler issue? Because it was like one fight scene covered a lot of history. And
Okay.
that lot of history was promoting the next big title that was coming out for their new line of
So,
books.
so it was laying the groundwork.
Mhm.
So technically, it's not filler because it is laying the groundwork first. And sometimes you have to do that. You have to have that book that is going. It in itself may not be the big thing, but it is laying the groundwork for what's going to come next.
Well, that's the title of the book that they were talking about, that all of this is leading to.
Ooh,
He
Toyohara.
this is the character that was the focus of what was going on, as far as what was happening in the background, and why the main character was acting a certain way, and the person that was after them was up here. It's like, we trained up under this guy. How can you say that this guy was bad and just went into a whole bunch of backstory? It wasn't bad backstory, because I was up here, I was like, yeah, that's kind of intriguing, but what did I get myself into? I don't understand the whole scenario. Only thing I know is that main character was there in her apartment. Somebody threw some weird things up in there, then boom, here comes this big old fight.
Well,
Here comes this big old fight, and it's like, okay, I don't know what's going on. If I was really heavily into action comics that don't have a story, this would be right up my alley. But because there was so much backstory there, I was like, this is interesting, but I don't know what to make of it.
kind of like the X Files the trio from the X Files, the Lone Gunman.
Mm-hmm.
Remember those guys? When they first introduced them, they were kind of like, some of those episodes were just laying groundwork for what's going to happen. And they would go, they were the conspiracy, for those of you who didn't watch the X-Files, the Lone Gunman, and they got that name because of the whole Kennedy stuff. Some people say that Leah Harvey Oswald worked alone. Others say that no, this was a concerted effort. I'm not going to comment one way or the other, but just to let you know, I lived through the deaths of 3 Kennedys, okay? 2 of which were in public service. Ha. Anyway, um, the Lone Gunmen were this group of conspiracy guys. That was their name, and they were brought in to give information to Mulder and Scully about stuff. And often they were brought in to bring in backstory and information that they didn't have, but from a conspiracy theorist angle. And sometimes it was specifically for that episode, but sometimes it was laying the groundwork for something that was coming down the line.
I thought it was part of it. I felt that it was the groundworks of what they should expect from the well manicured man.
That too, but I'm saying it wasn't just that. There was,
Right. I mean, but
they
but a
covered,
lot of the information that he brought helped them to understand the well manicured man.
and which they laid a lot of groundwork for that, because if they hadn't, things could have gone differently. So sometimes you have episodes of a TV show, or you might have a part or a whole book that maybe in and of itself isn't like every 5 seconds is a fight or a boo boo boo, but it's laying necessary groundwork that you need. It's like as this one in ROTC, we had a major who used to say, underline it, put an asterisk beside it, but remember it because you will need it later. Sometimes you have to have that stuff in, and sometimes that's, you want to bring it about in a way that's as interesting as possible. But at the same time, you're trying to convey some information that your hero or whatnot might not survive what's coming if they don't have it.
Or the reason why they are doing what they're doing is because of something that was not told before about
Yes.
somebody that people saw as a hero.
Or, like I said, somebody's working behind the scenes,
Mm-hmm.
pulling strings that you are looking, there's those characters, organizations, their job is to help you see beyond the initial stuff.
And,
You're looking at the surface, and there are individuals and organizations that within the story might show up just to give you that look behind the looking, through the looking glass, because if you don't see it for what it is, it'll run you down.
and that's the way that I kind of feel about this issue here with issue number 3. It's not a bad issue, but it also brought me into what I thought was like a universe that maybe not what I would care for, but at the same time, it's like, they're setting up all this stuff for all these other characters, but I'm not, well, at least in issue 3, I have no idea what the whole purpose of this character is. Livewire. I don't know what her purpose is as of yet.
Yeah. The book I'm working on now, um, not so much, but book 3 actually is kind of, there are things that are going to happen in book 3 that will be laying the groundwork for what's going to happen in 6 and 7.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but it's things that there are things that are going to happen, say in book 3, that we won't find out the truth of until further down the way. But if I don't lay that groundwork at that time, what happens later won't make sense.
Exactly.
You know, because you'll say, well, why didn't we see, or how come that didn't? And it's like, well, that's why this had to happen and that had to happen. Part of that will come at the end of book 2, but then there's more stuff to come after that when we make a time jump that starts laying the groundwork for new characters that are coming on that will expand the story. And then not just expand the story, but also expand the scope of what's going on. So you can see, you get an idea of who's actually behind the scenes pulling strings. Mm-hmm. You know, because the first couple of books are to make you go, oh, it's this guy. It's like, well, it could be. To some degree it is, but...
It's kind of like what I'm planning to do in Amazonia. It's something that is prophetic that gets said about Elisa, but that won't happen towards the end of the series. And when I say towards the end of the series, we got a couple of story arcs before we get to that.
And it's because I've had to rethink how the story ends. And I kind of, you know, when I did the last run of the script, it's like, this ending makes more sense than the original ending that I had. You know, but it was like, okay, so that means I need something that happens here so that when this happens, this is already kind of laid the groundwork. So that when you get to that point, it's like, okay, now that makes sense. Mm-hmm. You know, so and it's also working out because I am working on book 2. I still gotta see if I can get Ingram Spark to play nice. Mm-hmm. You know, because for some I had to take the project and rip it to shreds because taking their tutorial through how to put a book together wasn't putting a comic book together.
Right.
There's take the PDFs, and I'm like, oh my goodness! And I keep going through. Eventually, I am hoping I can get to a human being, or I can get to AI that will walk me through it in the way that makes sense. But the way I originally was doing it was not the way they said to do it. Mm-hmm. Doesn't work for the type of comic that I'm doing. So now I've got to figure out another way to do it so that it, you know, and I've got to figure out a way to do it so it'll make sense, because the way I was doing it at firsthand, it was like, oh, you can use a PDF. And then I gave them a PDF. It's like, oh, that's a PDF. It's like, oh my goodness.
You did your PDF internally wrong. All your images should have been lossless and not this type and blah 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 blah. It's like, you know what? That's the reason why I haven't gone to a modern version of Adobe Acrobat. I would still use this Acrobat. I think it's Acrobat 7 because I know where all of those functions are.
Well,
and I can do whatever I need to do to make it work.
Clip Studio Paint will let me save to PDF. And if I need to make it bigger or smaller, I can do that.
Does the PDF does their way of creating the PDF makes it lossless TIFF files and everything for things like fiery printers and everything to be able to scale and do everything it needs properly? I mean, those are the types of things that I have to deal with a lot of these comic book printers.
Yeah. The only thing, because, and I know that because when I put the PDF up into the Kindle Comic Book Creator for the digital version, it came out perfect. The only thing I had to learn to do was I had these 2-page spreads, and I had to learn to split them in half. And once I split them in half, it was like the software was like, oh yes, and then when you look at it digitally, you can see both halves. It'll show you both halves. You'll get the whole thing. But it's also taught me now. I'm not doing 2-page spreads like I used to, because it's like, okay, that's a lot of headache when you're working on a whole 2-page spread, and then you have to keep splitting it down the middle because the software can't take it. And if it's 2 pages, if you don't split them, the PDF reader can't, the Kindle creator can't read it properly. Don't ask me why. Don't ask me why.
I'm not going to ask you why, because I'm up here like, yeah, I know about that software only because of what I have done to get things on their platform, on Amazon's platform.
But I'm now like, okay, I can do a whole page, or I can do, like, I'm starting scene 1 of book 2 now. Well, I've got scene 1 done. I'm on scene 2. And originally I would have started that with a 2-page spread. And it's like, okay, I can't do that. So I'm going to take that first third of the page and put as much information visually as I can on that, so that you understand, oh, we're back in this from book 1. We're back in the lab. But it's just a smaller version of the lab. And then I can get into things, but it's like, yep, can't do that. I can do the lab. I just can't do it as a 2-page spread. So it means I can pull up that page. I can put those two together and then shrink it. So it'll take up the first third of the page and then put the figures in that setting. You get where I'm going?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Sometimes it's like, okay, did I just make that sound? Did I make
No,
that
you
sound?
you didn't make it sound complicated at all. Not at all.
He says, okay, she's not making it complicated.
Complicated at all. It's not. It was kind of easy to follow. I got where you was going with everything here.
I sometimes think because I started out digitally doing desktop publishing for people.
Mm-hmm.
So you learn how to adjust images that you would normally do larger. And it's like, okay, so shrink this, cut it in half, put that together, take this out, do that. You kind of learn how to edit images. Nowadays, you just tell the AI to do it. But I have learned how to physically cut and paste images together and do it in a way so that you don't know I've cut and paste these images together and stuff.
Don't get started with those 2 letters.
Okay.
Because I'm up here like, yep, we don't have time to talk about that tonight.
We don't have time to talk about that, but
because again, we're already an hour 30 minutes in. That could be another 5-hour discussion.
But yeah, but it is learning. I have this book. I am having to readjust how I'm having to readjust my workflow, because otherwise I won't, on the one hand, it'll be good because I don't have to do those big 2-page spreads anymore. So I kind of like them, and at the same time, they can be a little headachy because that's a lot of space. So on the one hand, I kind of like the idea of, okay, you're just editing it down. But on the other hand, it's like, yeah, but I could do this and put that there. And it's like, well, can't do that. Gotta fix and I have to remind myself, if I was directing this as a movie and we had budget constraints, I would have to go, okay, I want to shoot the scene like this, this, and this, but we can't afford that. So I got to find out another way to shoot that scene to still get the look and feel that I want without all the, all the bully boos. So I just kind of, I approach it from
or you could be like Huey Freeman and say, budget be damned.
No, because it's also a matter of time. I would really like.
That's true, but for those who haven't seen the Boondocks, that's where the quote came from. Budget be damned.
Yeah, because
we going to get started. Like, but Huey, contract.
I would like to have book 2 ready in time so that we can get it printed out for next year's C2E2. So I have 2 issues.
That reminds me, I still haven't heard back from Reed Pop as of yet.
Okay.
So I don't know if we got a spot because they have not sent me an agreement, nor have they said if I was on a waiting list or not.
I have a friend. I owe Uncle Sam $1,251. I didn't turn 65 until February. So that new law that says if you're 65 and you're doing your taxes, this much of your taxes, even if it's self-employed, voids out anything else. Because I didn't turn 65 until after that, after tax season, and they changed it, so instead of a 1040 and a Schedule C and D, I also had to do a Schedule E.
Okay.
And Schedule E took line 31 from Schedule C and said, "Oh, see that amount? Even though what you earn, even though everything you paid out in business expenses took this from line A and made it into this line from to line D, because of that, you still have to pay taxes." 3,100 and something, and I still got to pay them taxes. And it's like, great. So 1,251. I have an angel who has offered to help me cover the taxes. If we hear back from Reed Pop, I'm going to ask if they would be so kind as to maybe help cover part of. I'm not making any promises, but I'm going to ask if they would be willing to invest in helping us cover a bigger booth for us at Reed Pop. I mean, not Reed Pop.
I would need to know before they offer me a contract.
Okay. When you hear back from them, let me know.
We're scheduled to at least have a 10 by 10.
Okay.
We're not going to be up in the front anymore. I think that's the real reason why we haven't gotten the contract as of yet.
Because they're shifting us. Got it. Okay.
No, I asked for the shift. I asked for the shift because to me, it's not worth the amount of money
to be up
in the front anymore when we're not getting the type of people that we need to get to.
We probably should be closer to Artist Alley. Artist Alley would be too tight, but we should at least be closer by, because we get more of that Artist Alley traffic.
I'm not going to get into that competition for Artist Alley, because if we go into that competition for Artist Alley, I could pretty much guarantee it's going to be a nah.
No. But I'm saying being closer, we don't have to be in competition with them, but being closer by, we will probably get the people, because nowadays when you go to Artist Alley, people aren't just selling prints, they're also selling
books and all the other stuff.
They're selling issues of comics and stuff. So that, being closer by means we run into more of the people who are likely to buy from us. That's all I meant by that.
Exactly. That's the hope here. So Reed Pop is not going to make the extra, I would say the extra couple of $1,000 here. We went from almost getting close to paying like $3,000 to maybe like 1,500, 1,800.
Oh, that would be lovely.
Like and that would be lovely. I could pretty much try to figure out a way to cover that, to get it paid before the actual show or before whatever deadlines there is, and then go from there.
Also, artist, if you're like me, when I got that stimulus check, you know who it was from.
You got stimuli. I didn't.
Sorry. One of the things I did was I bought what we call Big Bertha, which is an Epson Workforce 7720 art printer. It's an early art printer, but these babies are workhorses. They are really great, except one of the things that I did not know at the time when I paid almost $500 for this puppy, you can't get a printer like this now without paying closer to $3,000, because she not only prints, she also scans, and she can print up to 13 by 19. So she prints lovely. When she's in full print mode, she does very well. But What happened is about a year or so after I got her, Big Bertha clogged. And when I went to Epson, they said for like $600 plus shipping there and back, they would take Big Bertha and fix her. I didn't have that money. So I couldn't fix Big Bertha. And she's been stuck doing, she's good at scanning. So she's been scanning all my 11 by 7. She scans 11 by 17. So all of my Bristol boards that I do for my book, she scans for me and she scans them beautifully. But she printed beautifully. I have some things I printed out that I don't have right around me, but she printed, and those pieces are as vibrant today, even though they're sitting in a room where we get a lot of sunlight and stuff, as they were when I first printed them. This is this is an art quality printer, an early version of those art quality printers that the cheapest of which nowadays are 1,200 and then they go up. And her inks will only cost me about $80 with shipping if I order them directly from Epson. And I will probably only start ordering them directly from Epson because I don't want to run into any unforeseen problems. But at the time, I could not get Big Bertha to work. And understand, I had gone the last, I got her in 2020. I've gone the last 4.5 years without being able to use Big Bertha, because all the instructions were complex and exhausting and they made no sense. And luckily, because I guess Epson and company have realized people still want to use these printers, they just don't want to have to pay the hundreds of dollars and stuff, and some of them can't pay that. They now make these lovely kits that you can buy to fix your printer nozzles. And I was able to get this. This was like $11 and change. I love this. I have got this. I will have to wait until later in the year. I may not have to wait until Yuletide to get the $120 or $150 it will take to get 2 things of inks. And the reason these printers, these art printers, clog is because regular printers use what's called dye-based inks. It's like a liquid ink. Doesn't have a lot of the stuff in it for the color. It's mostly liquid. The art-based printers, because the colors need to be more vibrant and whatnot, and you get better mixes of things, they have pigment-based inks. Think of it as, if you know anything about painting, think of it like somewhere around a gouache, a very kind of a thin gouache or acrylic paint. And because of that, though, they will clog. They will run and they will print beautifully, but after a while, they will clog, and you need to unclog them. And this now makes it so that I can unclog it and get back to actually creating work. And I love it because I can do t-shirts and I can do business cards and do all sorts of beautiful, beautiful art prints and stuff. And I'm going to do something special for Joe. I'm just not going to tell him what it is until I get it done, and it'll be his gift for Yuletide, and hopefully he will show it. Then again, he may hate it and no one will ever see it. But if you have one of those printers and it's been sitting there and all you've been doing, what I've done is just scanning with it, you can get this. You can get this on Amazon. I found it by mistake because I did a Google search and I ran in and said, inks for my printer, for the printer. I told it what type of printer I had, and they were like, oh, and they were like, they sent me back to Epson. And Epson was like, we have this print, we have that ink, and it's only $60-something. And it's like, okay, add the tax and shipping, and it's like about $80. That's good. I'm happy with that.
Yeah, for a whole set of it, yes, that's
for a whole
excellent.
set. Because otherwise, if I got one of the newer models, it'll cost me a couple of thousand plus the ink. The inks alone can go up to $200. These inks are that intensive, but you get beautiful ink. You will look at it and go, oh, and they use something. This is something like the inks. If you go to some of these places where you buy the artwork and whatnot, and it's like, oh, that's real. They've probably run it through a large size version of this printer. Okay, it's maybe a more up to date, but they've run it through these printers. And then somebody has gone on and painted a little extra, done something. Now, the crafty women have shown if you take a little Mod Podge and slap it on there in different ways, you make it look like it's an actual painting. And now the stores, Home Goods, Home Sense, and At Home have learned that lesson, and so they are now selling that with that on there. But once this is all set, and I will let you know, I am going to be up as a print shop, as well as I will be printing for myself, and I will take on a couple of jobs because C2E2 ain't cheap, and I need to start, I need to start carrying some of that weight. So
she just don't want to do commissions.
I will do commissions, but because it's just me and Courtney, and you've got 100 t-shirts, that's not going to happen. You maybe have 10, 20 or so you need for a group or something. Yeah, I can put together t-shirts for that and do it because she does early versions of DTF. And no, it's not the DTF you're thinking of, direct film transfers.
Yep.
You could order. I have the stuff to make it. I just need to get Big Bertha running again, and then I'm going to do some custom t-shirts that we will be, not just for me to wear, but we will be selling at C2E2. When I go to C2E2 this year, baby, I will have the shit. I will be the shit. Just watching. I'm also thinking of expanding into a Patreon group, which means we'll have to have.
I keep forgetting about my Patreon. I haven't did it update in so long.
I'm thinking of expanding to a Patreon group. If so, we will be putting special prints together each month that we will sell to people. People will pick a print and decide, okay, we're going to do this. Also, I have some artwork. Go to NASA. NASA, several years ago, NASA commissioned a bunch of artists to make travel posters for space travel. And they're wonderful. And you go to NASA and they'll let you download the whole kit and caboodle for free, and you can print them out. It's one of the lovely things that NASA has done. You can go, I think it's still up there. If not, let me know. I'll let you, I might put the link on Facebook so people can use it. But NASA, and there's another museum, I keep forgetting which one, that did that with some lovely Art Nouveau prints that I also have, because I'm a Rennie McIntosh fan, and I actually have a couple of pieces that his wife and her sister did. And they are as vibrant today as they were 4 years ago when I printed them out. So, yay. That's all I have for you today.
Oh, I didn't have too much more because I was hoping that this might have been a cliff episode, because we know we've been missing some stuff here. And like I said, I've been reading Livewire, even though this was 2016, 2017. We're still getting the more recent stuff, but I'm trying to expand out to other publishers and other books that most people may not have read, that is not like Marvel and DC related.
I found a couple of things that I got on Kindle, and I haven't read them yet. Because we've just had things coming up, and every time I think I've got time, something else happens and I ain't got time, and I'm trying to get back to working on my book. And so I don't have as much, unless it's on Audible and I can listen to it while I work. I just haven't had as much time for reading. I am hoping to get things worked out so that come November, I can at least end of last 2 weeks of October through November, I can sit down and read. I haven't read Frankenstein in ages. I haven't read any Poe in ages. I haven't read Dracula in ages. I have Mina, which is a lovely book. It's kind of a follow-up. It's Mina. It's what happens to Mina Harker after Dracula. It's not written by Bram Stoker. It's written by someone else, but I love it. It's a lovely book. But I have some horror books that I haven't sat down and read. And I love that gothic stuff. And I want to also, I have not read Jules Verne in ages, and I've been feeling a desire to read Jules Verne because I'm also a steampunk idiot. And I'm nuts for Lady Mechanica. So
I should be finishing up with some of that. I didn't finish up the one series that I did start here that I started to review. The one that I talked about, I took it to storage here, but I could break it back out.
I also have to ask Kelly what the theme for this year's Funverse is gonna be.
Yeah, that's next year for next year. Yeah, for
The
next
next
year.
year's thingy is gonna be because I want to make sure that the Last Kids on Earth book fits what they're looking for. If not, then I gotta find another book.
I
Because
definitely got to find a book unless I do some of the like free comic book stuff, books that people forgot about, like the
I,
Kanga one. Like the Kanga one, that one I liked. The Kangas on Thermoscara, they actually had a free comic book day book that I
ooh,
believe ended up being a graphic novel.
okay. I liked doing the Wonder Woman books when her childhood books. I enjoyed doing
Young
them.
Diana's the Young
Young
Diana.
Diana and the Young Diana and Nubia book. I had a lot of fun with those. And I like The Last Kids on Earth because this is I last time I did something that was more girl centric. This one, the lead character is a boy. So people aren't saying, well, you only want to help the girls. It's like I raised two boys, okay? Believe me. And they don't wear dresses or anything like that. don't don't even think it. But I wanted to do Last Kids on Earth because it's recommended for kids as young as 8. And my bookie
Do you
just
feel
went
that
by.
it's good reading for them?
Yeah, because it's not the this isn't like Night of the Living Dead or what was that I just watched last? In fact, I just watched two of them last night. The two of the animated ones, the computer animated versions. What's the one with what's this space? Um, oh shoots, Regeneration. Okay, you're going. I can't remember the name of the series. What's her name? Hobovich did the live action series of
Oh, Ghost in the
movies.
Shell.
No, not Ghost in the Shell.
You know that they did a season 2 for, I believe it's like the Netflix did another season of Ghost in the Shell.
It's like Living Dead.
Resident Evil.
Resident Evil. That's it. Resident Evil. This isn't Resident Evil.
Okay.
It's this is these are kids. They know they've written it for kids, and so it has a little, and that's why they're saying 8 or 9 years old.
Mhm.
Younger than that, it's like parents beware, make sure you're reading it with the child because a younger child may find this very frightening. But they're it's kind of like for little kids who like horror, sort of the R.L. Stein crowd.
Okay. Well, R.L. Stein could be scary too. There's
Yeah,
there's
but it
different parts
was.
of it.
I mean, the kids and I watched Are You Afraid of the Dark and whatnot together.
Are You Afraid of the Dark is not as bad as Goosebumps. Goosebumps has some like, oh, they allowed this to get by censors type moments.
But John was younger, so it was more Are You Afraid of the Dark and
Mhm.
stuff like that. So, um, but it's
The only
either
reason I
that.
remember Are You Afraid of the Dark is because that was cable television as opposed to what they did with Goosebumps on regular network television.
Yeah, Are You Afraid of the Dark was more what's the channel for kids? Nickelodeon.
Nickelodeon.
Yeah.
Nickelodeon.
Um the other one I'm thinking of is Redwall because they now have that as I believe they do that as a graphic, either do the graphic novel of Redwall, or I will do The Hobbit because I figure if nothing else, The Hobbit works for everybody. And it was The Hobbit more than the trilogy was written as a children's story. So, and I
I,
I haven't found any illustrated versions of River Random. So, I've got at least 3 books.
Yeah,
I
but we
can
need to find out from Kelly about the theme, because the theme is going to really dictate what I might pick more so than anything. Because there's books that I wouldn't mind reviewing, but thinking about the, if I could say, the actual charity that we're doing it for, some of the things that I would love to review may not fit for younger kids.
Yeah. And as and I'm also, it's funny because my kids are men now, but it's kind of fun because it's like it challenges me to go back and say, okay, if they had friends over,
Mm-hmm.
what would I pick? Because yeah, when they were little, fun for us on Saturday night was watching some crappy kung fu movie, turning the sound down, and I would make up my own, and I would make up my own dialogue. I don't know if
You up here
Charles
turning the
remembers
sound down
that.
and making all the women characters seem much more powerful than what they were.
And I would make the men like, really? Oh, my kung fu is not as good as you. Oh, I must run and look stupid now.
See, now you're making me think about the one Shaw Brothers movie called The Invincible Armor.
But
And
yeah,
and it's like, oh, I'm about to hit you. I was like, I'm about to hit you with the one move that you will not be able to take 100 steps or you'll die.
I would like make up stupid voices. Hi, my kung fu was so bad. Every time I can turn around and fart and knock out 60 of your guys. No, you can't. 60 of your guys are now dead.
But that was the thing. That was the thing. The reason I brought up Invincible Armor, because the person who saved everybody was a woman who taught him finesse.
Oh,
He was
okay.
learning all these different acupuncture and everything, and it learns out that the kink in his armor was his hands. But you couldn't just go directly to his hands and just hit his hands and this, that, and the other to beat him. You had to use finesse. So the girl that he was with eventually taught him the sulfur size of the sulfur kata to use against him,
Oh,
to use
okay.
all these different pins to hit him in his hands to weaken him before he could get the actual final blow.
I would just do it because we're talking really stupid, cheap kung fu films. And it was a Saturday night kung fu theater or something. It was in Northern California where we lived, and it was
Oh, so you wasn't around here for
no. This
Samurai
was
Sundays. We had
no
Samurai
no
Sundays
no.
on Channel 50.
But it was like there would be these really silly little kung fu movies, and and neither of these guys were good at going to bed at 9. I couldn't get them down before 11. So, and the way to do it was like sit up and make up, I would put on these kung fu movies and make stupid lines up, and you are slapping me. Why are you slapping me? Oh my god, my head just went running on the street. Somebody find my head. That way, when somebody died, I would make it really stupid,
It was
you
like,
know?
I'm not curly, he's curly. Why are you slapping me? I was like, you ain't Mo, why are you slapping me? Why are you slapping me?
Stop hitting yourself. Stop hitting yourself.
And then the
Or
guy, after he got through hitting him so much, he go like, "Nyah, nyah, 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 nyah."
I would just, I would like just make up stuff on the spot, and we would all laugh and have snacks, and eventually they would pass out, and I'd go sit and I'd put them in bed and go sit and write. Um, but it's just I kind of miss those. I kind of miss those, but because sometimes those old kung fu movies could get kind of gory,
Mhm.
but they were also kind of gory in a silly way. So that was also fun. Yes, I'm a mom. I'm an old mom.
You could,
It's
you
what
could,
I
you
used
could,
to
you
do.
couldn't do that with certain kung fu movies, like the Flying Guillotine. You couldn't do that,
No, you couldn't do that with the flying guillotine and stuff. But there were
but you could do it with the Jackie Chan drunken master, the younger Jackie Chan one, where he
yes.
learned how to do drunken kung fu. Because I remember, I forgot the name of the original one that he did when he was young. his master used to beat the mess out of him, just slap him on the head. You could make all type of story. It's like, did you clean? It's like, did you wash the dishes yesterday? No, I didn't, sir, master. Pop, 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 pop. It's like, how many times I told you to wash the dishes? Did you use the dog? No, I use ivory. How many times it's supposed to be done with dog?
Like I said, I would turn the sound down, and then I would make it up as they would go along. So I would have no idea what was the actual dialogue.
Mhm.
But the first couple of these movies I'm watching, the dialogue was usually didn't fit what they were. Half the time they were badly dubbed. It was more times than not, it was really stupid. It's like, well, hell, I can do that, you know. And I can make the gory stuff more palatable for my boys. So that's basically what I did. Yes, Auntie Moo just gave you parenting 101 for you geeky parents, okay? You want to raise a geeky baby? Now you know how.
So we're at the 2 hour mark here. It's up to you if you want to keep going or not.
Oh no. I need something to drink and I need something to eat, and I am sweating buckets.
Oh, so you dealing with the humidity as well. Okay.
Yes, So thank you for coming. It's been an interesting night. I know it's been so strange. And our I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It is what it is. Anyway, thank you for coming. Whether you watch us live, whether you watch us later, we appreciate you. We love you. I'm Elaine. Lenscaponline.com is my website. If you go down to the bottom of that page, there is a contact us little widget. Drop me a line. Even if it's just, girl, can you just shut up? Drop me a line.
I'm sorry, I had to laugh because it made me think of a certain person who did show up today. I was like, yep, that would be something that would happen.
I've had, as a child growing up, that was a line I heard quite often. Girl, can you just shut up? So come make me. Anyway, if you don't want to find me there, find me here on YouTube. I have my own channel at Elaine Haygood. You'll find 36 videos as well as and a whole bunch of other along with my own videos. I also have playlists. If you are interested in art or anything like that, look at my playlist that says work related. You'll find a ton of videos by other artists and stuff. I follow quite a few artists, women artists especially. Though I also follow a good many men. So if you're interested, if you're looking to homeschool your kids and you're trying to find some work that will inspire them, look at my playlist. I'm not going to yell and scream. Just don't, watch it at home, but don't post it on your Facebook or something, because I don't have that right. Okay. Like I said, thank you. Have a nice one. The heat is murder. I'll see y'all later. Peace.
All right. So that brings us to the part of the show where we have to say that this episode of Comic Book Spectrum has been brought to you by Jeffrey Hayes. If you need a brand new cover for your novel, your graphic novel, your comic book, Jeffrey Hayes is the person to hit up. Why? Because you want an award-winning artist that have won many Pulp Factory awards for covers that he did for many different novels and graphic novels. He's the guy for you. And if you don't believe that pitch, take a gander at this right here.
You've worked hard and written a great book. Now it's time to give it a great cover. If you're an indie author or small press publisher, Plasmafire Graphics is your source for affordable cover illustration and graphic design. Plasmafire Graphics. When the look of your book matters to you.
And there you have it. You saw those graphics. That's the type of stuff that he could bring to your book here to get people over to your table and be like, hey, tell me more about that. I love the cover. So if you like that, go ahead and hit up Jeffrey Hayes at plasmafiregraphics.com here. As far as I'm concerned, I'll be back here Saturday as usual for another episode of From the Desk of a Small Press Publisher. We got a few new books that came in here. We got a pretty decent production update because of the simple fact that the laptop is working. I've been back in DAW Studio. I've been working on panels and pages for both Legends of the Giant and Slayer and for Primetime Saturday Night. So we've been rocking and rolling despite everything that's going on with the 9 to 5 and all the other stuff that's going on around me here. But until then, we'll talk about more about that later. But for now, live life, grow, and be well. And unlike our founder, Brian K. Morris, I don't care if you wash your hands, but never, and I do mean never, apologize for being awesome. Thank you once again for watching Comic Book Spectrum. Be sure to like, and if you haven't subscribed to this channel, just go ahead and subscribe here. We do look at comments, and have a great rest of your evening. So long. Enjoy.